What's happening, everyone? My name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out a brand new e-bike from Eskute. The one that we have here today, it's called the Eskute Star. So this is a fat tire folding cargo e-bike. Now if you check the manufacturer's website in Europe, it says that this is a 250 watt motorbike, but we'll talk more about that later on in the video. Since this is a folding bike, of course, it folds right here in the middle. The handlebar also folds, so the bike can become a bit smaller, but keep in mind that this is a fairly heavy bike. With that being said, let's start by doing a bit of an unboxing, just so I can quickly show you how the bike comes packed in the box and what you have to do to get this ready and on the road. Alright, so as you'd expect, it comes in a fairly big box. Obviously, the bike itself is quite big. The box is also pretty heavy, and that has a lot to do with the weight of the bike. So this has a weight of about 32 kilos, so definitely not the lightest bike out there. So if you want to carry this up the stairs or anything like that, it may not be that easy. Out of the box, you do have to do a bit of an installation. You have to put the handlebar here together, you have to put the front wheel together, you have to put the front mudguard and the light together, and the pedals. All in is going to take you about half an hour to 45 minutes to get this ready and on the road. Alright, so the bike has 20-inch wheels with 4-inch wide tires. The fat tire says these are called, and these are from a good brand, but this is the same brand that we see with a lot of these fat tire e-bikes. On the front here we also have a front suspension. Now this has about 1.5 inches of travel, so nothing crazy, but when you combine that with the fat tires and the fact that the seat here has a lot of padding and also like a spring, two springs at the bottom here, you do get a very comfortable ride. So even if you go over curves or over bumps or anything like that, it is a very comfortable ride. Talking about comfort, so the handlebar here can also be adjusted in height. So if you want to ride like this, you can. If you want to ride a bit lower, you can. So I'm very happy to see that the handlebar is adjustable in height. So overall, you do get a comfortable riding position and overall a comfortable ride. Now, one thing I've noticed when riding this bike is how low the pedals are to the ground. So if you see when I spin the pedals, I'm almost touching the ground. So when you're riding and you kind of lean a bit in a corner, there is a very good chance you're actually gonna hit the ground with the pedal and your foot. So I'm not a big fan of that if you're going into corners. Basically, if you go on a straight line, you're not gonna notice that. But riding in corners, leaning a bit, well, that could be problematic. You've already noticed that we have plastic mudguards on the front and on the back. Luckily, these don't make any noise whenever you're riding. On the front here, we have a light. The light is pretty bright during the day and at night, so you can easily see it. Now, on the back here, we have another light. This lights up, but it doesn't act as a brake light. So whenever you pull on the brake levers here, it doesn't light up more. So I wish that would have been a thing. Now, something is going on between this plastic mudguard, the rack here on the back, and the light. Nothing seems to be aligned somehow. Maybe it's from my installation, but the mudguard is a bit to the left, the rack is a bit to the right, and the light is kind of in the middle of everything. So I'm not sure if that had to do with my installation, but it doesn't look that amazing in my opinion. Moving on to our battery pack. So the battery pack is right here in the frame. So I kind of like how it doesn't stick out of the bike. So you can't really see the battery pack because it's here in the frame. Now the battery pack can also be removed. So there are a couple of keys that come in the box. You can easily remove that and charge it upstairs. On the right hand side here, we actually have an on-off switch. So just in case you're wondering why your bike isn't powering on, turn on that switch. This is also a pretty massive battery pack. So that's a 25 amp hour battery pack. So you can ride for about 100 kilometers without any issues on one charge. But of course, that will depend how you're riding, where you're riding, how heavy you are, what assistance level you're riding, and so on. Talking about assistance level, I also like the fact that this bike is equipped with a torque sensor, because that makes the bike feel more like a regular bike than an e-bike. With a lot of these cargo folding e-bikes these days, we do get speed sensors, but no, this one actually gets a torque sensor. So basically, as soon as you push on the pedal, the bike will give you power. The more you push on the pedal, the more power the bike will give you. So it does feel more natural riding this bike compared to one that has a speed sensor. Alright, so let me quickly show you how easy it is riding this bike. So our power button is right here. You basically hold this press for about 3 seconds or so. And from these buttons here, the plus and the minus, you basically change assistance levels. For this test, we'll do assistance level 3. So because we have a torque sensor, basically as soon as you push on the pedal, the bike will give you power, and the harder you push on the pedal, the more power the bike will give you. So we'll first accelerate by accelerating the pedals, basically by pedaling. So you can easily reach that 25 kilometers an hour. It only takes a couple of seconds. We'll do a brake test somewhere around here. So if you want, you can easily lock that rear wheel. And as you can see, as soon as you push the pedals, you kind of hear the motor giving you power. And as I said, this does not feel like a 250 watt motor under no circumstances. So definitely a 500 watt motor in my opinion. So we'll go this way. We'll do another brake test. I had to adjust the shifter a bit when I took the bike out of the box. It wasn't shifting gears properly. Now it's a bit better, but still not perfect. So another brake test right here. So you can easily brake and stop. And as you can hear, there is no other noise aside from the motor that's assisting us. So overall, a pretty quiet ride, and a very comfortable ride as well. And talking about power, well, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you check the manufacturer's website for Europe, it says that that is a 250 watt motor. If you check the manufacturer's website in the US, it says that that is a 500 watt motor. Now, this doesn't feel like a 250 watt motor to me, even though it does say 250 watts right there on the motor. But to me it feels more like a 500 watt motor than a 250 watt one. However, if you ride on a flat surface like this, no problem at all. The bike will reach the top speed, which is 25 kilometers an hour. You can probably unlock it, but I left mine locked at 25 kilometers an hour. If you're riding uphill, the same. The bike has plenty of power. So there will be no situation where you feel that the bike doesn't have enough power. So even though it is a 250 watt motor, you have a lot of power available. Moving on to the handlebar. The handlebar here is fairly wide, so whenever you're riding, you're comfortable enough. As I mentioned earlier, you can fold this, so whenever you're folding the bike, you can also fold the handlebar. And of course, you can raise this or lower it so you can make your riding position as comfortable as possible. Our grips here are made out of rubber. They don't seem to move at all. The brake levers are made out of metal. You can also adjust the brakes right from these. And in the center here we have our screen. The screen can be seen even if it's a super bright day out. And of course you can see it easily at night as well. And we also have a little bell here. So overall, as I said, this is a very comfortable bike to ride because of the fat tires, the front suspension, the fact that you can adjust the height of the handlebar, the seat is comfortable. So I can't say too many bad things about the bike because it is a pretty decent bike, but I just wish there are a couple of things that were better. So I wish everything would be aligned better on the back here between the light, the rack, and that plastic mudguard. And the pedals do get quite close to the ground. So I wish the pedal would have been somewhat higher, because if you're leaning in curves, there is a potential that you're gonna crash, because, well, if you hit the ground with your foot, it's not gonna be great. Other than that, the bike does seem to work quite good. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.